What if your voicemail sounded like your grandmother, your boss, or worse, a bank executive, but wasn't them at all? Welcome to Unboxed Origins. I'm Howie, your resident science geek and accidental trivia sponge.
And I'm Wyatt. I ask the big questions. Sometimes philosophical, often skeptical, always curious.
Today, we're digging into how did AI voice cloning rewrite phone calls and voicemail? All right, buckle up. The story starts not with a hacker in a basement, but with scientists trying to make machines speak more naturally. Decades ago, we had mechanical voices that rattled and bleeped. Think Bell Labs voter and early vocoders. And later, concatenative text-to-speech systems that stitched small recorded pieces of voice together. It was functional but mechanical. Then came parametric models like HMM-based synthesizers, which let you generate speech from statistical patterns. Useful, but still not quite human. The big leap came in the mid-2010s. Neural networks like DeepMind's WaveNet 2016 modeled raw audio waveforms, and suddenly speech sounded like a real person whispering into a microphone. This wasn't a cartoon anymore. It was Uncanny Valley, but trending toward Uncanny Human. Once WaveNet and its relatives proved high-fidelity speech could be synthesized, the next trick was identity. How do you make that voice sound like a specific person? Researchers build speaker embeddings, compact numerical snapshots of what makes a voice unique. Combine a short audio clip with a neural TTS that conditions on that embedding, and boom, you can approximate someone's voice from seconds or a minute of audio. By around 2017-2018, demos from startups like Lyrebird and labs like Baidu's Deep Voice showed you could clone a voice from very small samples. The tech raced from labs into creative tools. Podcasters could fix flubbed lines, filmmakers could recreate an actor's lines, and families could craft voice messages in a loved one's timbre. It felt like sci-fi liberating storytelling. But of course, where there's power, misuse follows. The very same tools that made studio-quality voiceovers cheap also made impersonation easier. Around 2019, the press began to report fraud cases where criminals used voice mimicry to trick employees into sending money, sometimes allegedly using AI-assisted synthesis. At the same time, prank videos and TikTok trends showed people making calls with cloned celebrity voices for shock value. The social reaction was immediate. Banks, call centers, and voicemail services realized voice, once considered a strong biometric, was now potentially a spoofable credential. The phone ecosystem had to adapt or be exploited.
Aha! And here's the twist that most people miss. The tech didn't just make voicemail riskier. It rewired how we think about spoken identity. For over a century, the sound of a voice conveyed trust, a parent's reassurance, a company's authority. Suddenly, the audio signature could be fabricated by algorithms that learned human nuance. So the problem wasn't merely fake voice exists. It was that our cultural habit of treating voice as proof of person had been quietly eroded by convenience-driven innovation. In other words, we built a tool to make voices kinder and clearer, and it quietly robbed those voices of their evidentiary weight.
That realization set off a wave of defenses. Telecom operators leaned into call authentication systems like STIR/SHAKEN, which verify and attest to originating caller ID across networks. But those systems don't help if the audio itself is a synthetic impersonation. So industry and researchers developed complementary strategies: liveness detection for voice biometrics, challenge response prompts, or asking a caller to repeat random numbers, and forensic detectors trained to spot artifacts and spectrograms or anomalies in phase and harmonics that betray synthetic generation. There's also a push toward provenance, digitally signing audio at creation so apps and platforms can verify whether a clip was produced by a known TTS engine. That's the same idea used to watermark images and documents, adapted for audio. Meanwhile, lawmakers and institutions began to catch up. Several countries and states drafted or passed laws around non-consensual voice cloning, deepfake disclosures, and fraud penalties. Platforms adapted community guidelines banning deceptive voice clones for harassment or fraud. Corporations rewired authentication flows. banks moved away from pure voice biometrics to multi-factor models, pairing voice with device-based tokens or behavioral analytics. Voicemail itself got a facelift. Providers started offering transcription-first voicemail, clearer indicators about message origin, and AI-driven spam detection that flags suspiciously synthetic-sounding messages. The effect? Voicemail became less a sacred archive of personal voice and more a curated stream of verified or doubt-marked messages.
Aha! Here's another layer people don't always see. AI was both the arsonist and the firefighter. The same generative models that enabled convincing forgeries also powered the detection algorithms and provenance tools. Detection systems learned to pick up on telltale neural footprints, tiny statistical quirks left by how models generate waveforms, because the defenders themselves used AI to parse vast audio banks. That created a fast-moving arms race, as synths improved to erase artifacts. Detectors had to dig deeper into voice semantics, phrasing idiosyncrasies, and cross-channel consistency. It's almost poetic. Technology creates the problem, then evolves to solve it, and then creates new problems again.
The social consequences are more interesting than a simple security arms race. People started changing behavior. Some users stopped leaving long personal voicemails, fearing they could be clipped and reassembled into different contexts. Call centers tightened consent language before recording. Journalists and historians wrestled with ethics when it came to resurrecting deceased voices. Is a synthetic message comforting or exploitative? Companies that offered voice as a service had to create consent flows and opt-ins. Meanwhile, artists used these tools ethically to resurrect lost performances for new creative work, but always with labels and context to avoid deception. The cultural conversation matured quickly. It wasn't just tech policy. It was about respect, consent, and how we let machines inhabit a facet of human intimacy.
Aha! And here's the part that's quietly profound. Voicemail, that old, flickering relic of phone culture, became the canary in the coal mine. Changes to voicemail, shorter, more transcribed, more authenticated, signaled a broader collapse in default trust for voice. If we no longer accept voice as proof, every system built on that assumption must change. Today's voicemail makeover is tomorrow's courtroom testimony debate, tomorrow's customer service verification policy, and the infrastructure shift that will ripple through privacy law, media authenticity, and interpersonal trust.
Technically, the field keeps evolving. Newer models use adversarial training and large-scale data sets to synthesize more convincing speech with fewer artifacts. Few-shot and zero-shot synthesis mean you can capture a voice from a tiny sample. At the same time, advanced detectors now use ensemble approaches, spectral forensics, temporal pattern analysis, and semantic checks that spot mismatches between a person's known speaking style and a new clip. There's also interest in audio passports, cryptographic metadata embedded into audio files at creation to prove provenance. The challenge is global adoption. A signed, verifiable audio standard only works if devices, apps, and platforms honor it.
That leads to another surprise. Legal and social solutions may matter more than technical fixes. Even perfect watermarking doesn't help if the forged clip is leaked through analog channels, played on a loudspeaker and recorded in a phone call, destroying signatures. And deepfakes adapt. If social channels reward sensational content, fake voices will keep finding distribution. So we need layered solutions, tech safeguards, legal consequences, public literacy, and cultural norms that ask for verification. In short, this is as much a human problem as a machine problem.
So what did all this rewrite? Phone calls and voicemail shifted from being assumed evidence to being suspect evidence unless verified. the audio ecosystem introduced provenance, multi-factor voice authentication, and new norms around consent. Companies rethought how they handle voicemail storage and display, adding context and warning flags. On the consumer side, people became more skeptical about accepting urgent requests over the phone and more likely to use written confirmation for transactions. That's a behavior shift, probably the most durable rewrite of all.
And the big takeaway? The convenience of AI voice cloning forced society to reassess a basic assumption: that the sound of a voice equals the presence of a person. That reassessment is messy, but it also enabled better security and richer creative tools. If we choose safeguards and policies wisely, we'll hear human voices for a long time. But we must learn to ask, is this the real person? And how can I know?
To wrap up, technology sprinted forward by making voices easier to synthesize and personalize. That unlocked creativity and accessibility, but it also created potent tools for deception. The telecom world responded with technical fixes like STR shaken and liveness checks, new legal frameworks, and a cultural re-evaluation of voicemail and phone trust. The cat-and-mouse race continues, but so does the push for provenance, transparency, and sensible rules.
Ultimately, it matters because voice is intimate. We used to assume intimacy implied authenticity, and AI voice cloning forced us to separate the two. The result is not only a safer phone system, but a more conscious society that asks for proof rather than assuming it. That's a small cost for preserving trust in a noisy, synthetic future.
If you enjoyed this deep dive into the strange journey from lab demo to phone fraud and cultural shift, like, subscribe, and share to keep the curiosity going. Remember that question from the start? What if your voicemail sounded like someone else? It's no longer a hypothetical. It's the reason we now ask, how can I tell if a voice is real?